8 months and 1 week is how long it took to finish this cross-stitch project. The blanks you're looking at here are what was left for me to complete on this final day to wrap up the work on this project, which was called Old Kitchen 1. And I will list the Etsy seller's name who sells this pattern if you're interested in it. Welcome back to the boring country life. My name is Jessie, and cross-stitching is my boring granny hobby. In this video, I thought I would start from the very beginning with a new cross-stitch project and record my process for how I get started, and maybe throughout the coming months I will show different parts of the process as well. Before the pleasure of starting and organizing a new project, I have to clean up the old one. So the first thing I'm going to do is take all the threads that I had been using on the Old Kitchen 1 cross stitch and putting them back into my stash in numerical order so that then I'm ready to collect all the threads that I need for the next project. Now that I have my finished cross stitch project packed up and put away and have all my threads put back into their main containers, I am ready to set up my next cross stitch, which I believe is called Old Cottage, but I'll double check. But here I have everything I need to put that kit together for myself. And here's how I do it. So this is what the artwork looks like for the stitch that I'm going to be doing next. It's called Tiny Cottage. I got it off of Etsy, and I will put the name of the seller on the screen here in case you're interested. There's lots of varieties that she has for sale. This is just one of the ones that I liked. So in the info sheet that comes with the design, it tells you it's based on cross stitching on a 14 count Aida. That's your fabric. And it's a 300 by 300 picture. And if you're going to do it on a 14 count Aida, it would be 21 inches square. That's how big the finished product would be. But I am going to cross stitch it on a 16 count Aida, which means the holes will be a little bit smaller. So the picture overall is going to be a little smaller. At the end, it'll be almost 19 inches square. So the fabric that I picked out to go with it, that's the name of it, Gracefully Gray 16 count Aida. And I sourced this from 123 Stitch. And when you know that's the finished size of your product, or of your picture, you want to have enough fabric to go all around the edge for framing. So you want 3 inches on every side extra of your picture. So if this is going to be the finished picture, I want another 3 inches of fabric on every side so that the framer can wrap it. So you're just going to add 6 inches to your measurement. So I needed a fabric that was at least 25 inches by 25 inches. I couldn't find anything exact, so this one is 25 inches by 36 inches. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off the extra 11 inches on one side, and I will save that fabric to use in a small project in the future. And I wanted to keep this so I remembered the information about it. The next piece of information that this page tells you are the symbols for every single cross stitch you're going to make. So for example, that's a 7 inside of a circle. Your thread number is going to be 152, which is called Antique Rose. When you're going through the symbols on your work, this is how you know what color to stitch and where. So for instance, solid black, the solid black square is going to be 310, which is black. So I don't need this right now for setup. This is what I will use when I'm actually stitching. What I need for my setup is this page, which tells me how much of each thread I'm going to need. These 4 containers have all of my personal thread stash that I have collected over the last 20 years. And I do have another bag or 2 full of entire floss rolls. I have them organized numerically so that they're easy to find. And when I began, I only had 1. I think this might have been my original because it's cracked up on the corners. But I use that for something different now. So this is all of my original floss. And in this container, an older friend had a friend that retired from cross-stitching. And this was her personal collection of floss and her floss holder. And she gifted this to me, which is a cross-stitcher's dream. And so these are all her floss in numerical order. And her holders are a little different than mine. They're a little bigger, but I still make them work for the organization you're about to see. So what I'm going to do is go through the list of threads that I need for this project. And I'm going to pull them from here first, because in my mind, I want to use all these up eventually one day before I use these and then before I buy any more. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And what I use this very old empty one for is to contain all of the threads for this specific project. So as I go through this list and I find all the threads that I need, I'll pull them from these containers and put them in here. And then this stays with me at my cross-stitching chair in the living room. And all of these get stored back away, and I don't need them again unless I'm starting kitting up another project. How you would read this is, first of all, I need number 152. So let me locate that and see how much I have of number 152. This is number 152 Antique Rose. This is the only open or wrapped floss that I have for number 152. It says in this project there's a total of 164 stitches, and it's going to use almost a meter or a yard of floss. So since I didn't find any more 152, I'm going to put a little mark on here to let me know that I need to buy one more. And then this gets added to my blank container for the project. So I'm just going to keep doing that over and over. The next number is 160. You can skip this part if you're an experienced cross-stitcher, but just in case you're brand new, a little bit of terminology. The fabric that you see on the table that's bundled together, each one of those is referred to as a skein, and then we call the thread floss. But I go back and forth. Sometimes I call it thread, sometimes I call it floss. I just came across a number of a thread that I don't have any of at all. Never had it. 165 pale moss green, 51 stitches, a third of a yard, but I have none. So I need to order one of those. Now this pattern was made in Europe or by a European, so the measurements are in meters, but I'm an American. In America, we use yards. And there's almost 1.1 yards in a meter. So when you're buying your floss, in America, we would say there's 8.7 yards in a skein. So if you're going by meters, it's an even 8 meters. Now it was before 5 a.m. when I started working on this, kitting everything up, and my brain wasn't working yet. And for some reason, I kept thinking there was only 1 yard of fabric in each skein. And by the time I finished putting all this together and collecting my list of what I needed like over 200 colors or 200 skeins of all the different colors, plus another like 170 skeins of blank or B5200. And I was like, this is insane. I have never used this much fabric or this much floss on a project this size. And then the next morning, I woke up and realized, oh, there's 8 yards or a little over 8 yards, not 1 in the skein. So I had to go back this morning and correct how much that I need to order to finish this project. And I do tend to under order what I need, especially if there's going to be multiple flosses. I don't want to have too much and then be storing more for a long time in the future. So I do like to have enough to make sure I can get the project started and going and lasting for a few months. But then I'll keep an eye on the floss levels as I'm working through it. And if I see something starting to run out, then I'll pick it up at a local shop or order it online if I can't find it locally. Now, what I haven't decided about this cross stitch yet is if I want to leave all this edging around here, they have you stitching a blank for all of those color blanks. So if you look at this one, here's the top of the stovepipe. See the top of the stovepipe? And then everything around it is to be stitched in blank. I don't know if I want to do that. I might just leave the fabric showing. I'm not sure when I'll decide that. Usually when I do a full coverage cross stitch, I either start in the bottom corner or the top corner. I prefer the bottom, and you'll see why when I stitch later. I let my extra thread hang out the top. And then once I stitch over it, then I can clip it off. I would rather not have extra thread hanging down the bottom, kind of being in my way. But if I decide that I am not going to stitch all this blank, which looks like it's going to require a lot of thread, 178 yards, that's insane, then I wouldn't be able to start in a corner. I would have to just choose somewhere else, probably towards the middle, to start and work out from there. So I'm going to ponder that. What do you think? Should I do the blank stitches, or should I just leave my gray in the background from the fabric? Okay, I have everything ready to go now. The kit is complete other than the few extra floss skeins that I need to purchase. And this is what the container looks like that's going to stay with me where I sit, where my stand is, in my frame. So I have all the colors I need to work on throughout the time of this project. So these are all in numerical order. These are also in numerical order, but they're the extra gifted thread that I had. So I will use these threads first. If I don't see the number I need here, then I will look here. Those are extra floss that I have in the same colors of the project. And I keep my pattern in this book. And I have the picture on the back if I ever need to reference it for anything. I have a few extra bobbins for the threads I'm going to be getting that I don't have any of, a few extra needles to keep on hand. And I will show you my stand and my frame setup in the next video. If anything wasn't clear or if you have any questions, just let me know. But this is how I begin a new cross stitch project.